All right, so I'm going to share my screen to take us live to where you can go to get Office 365. So what is Office 365? If I go to the Spokane Falls, and I'm just going to navigate there as you would, SpokaneFalls.edu, you will see that in the student tools, there is this Office 365 and email. Every student at the college has an email address available to them to use through this system as long as you're a student, and you also have access to this Office 365. So let me click on this to show you what it is. So when you open it, it asks you to sign in. If you're logged into a computer at school already, it will still ask you this, but once you click sign in, it will automatically sign you in because it will recognize the credentials that you used to get onto the machine. If you're at home, you will need to sign in using your login information. And I think that I should have pulled that up here. Let me go back to the slide presentation so we can get to the example. She wants to start talking.
Yeah, if you just click hit next through all of them, we'll bypass her.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is an example of what your login would be if you are at home to get into the Office 365. And it's the same way you would sign into a computer if you were on campus. So it's your first name, whatever you registered with. So if your name is Alexandra, but you usually go by Alex, you can't just put Alex in there if you registered at the college under the name of Alexandra. It has to be what you registered with, okay? And then it's the first letter of your last name and the last 4 digits of your CTC link ID. And then this end part is going to be the same for everybody, at bigfoot.spokane.edu. All right. The password is always going to be your full CTC link ID number. All right. And then there is information on here for IT help as well. All right. So Office 365 allows, it's a online version of the Microsoft products. So if I click back over to here where I logged in, and if I say I want to see all apps, you can see, or if I want to click on my grid, if you're familiar with Gmail, you will recognize the little grid they have here to see the apps. So the apps or the software or the programs, whatever you want to call them that are available, the most popular ones are listed here. And then if you click all apps, you will see that there are many more available to you, okay? And I'm gonna go back here now. So what we're going to be looking at today is OneDrive, which is the storage area. So as you can see, I have Word available to me and Excel and PowerPoint. And again, these are online versions of the applications. So most of the things that you do are going to be just on a general basis, like type in a paper or taking some notes or whatever. You can have access to most of the features, but not all of them. So a great thing that you also have available to you as a student is that you can come over here to this Install Office and you can download a full desktop version of those applications, okay? So when you click on this, you can get these applications, and this top one is usually great for everybody, all right? So And Sade has a link to some step-by-step instructions on how to do that in the presentation, but this is what that's talking about right here. This installs a desktop version. So you might hear the term Office 2019. So that is the version that is currently being downloaded when you go through Office 365. So it used to be that Microsoft, every few years, people would have to get a new version. Okay, we have, you know, Office 94, Office 97, Office 2001. And every time they would upgrade, the schools would need to go out and users eventually would be forced to upgrade because the Microsoft would stop servicing the previous version. Well, so they decided to go to a subscription service now so that all of the updates they make are just constantly on 365. So they don't have to have a release. But right now, the version you are downloading is 2019. So that's why you might see those things interchangeable, referred to interchangeably. Okay. All right. So the cloud storage, you'll see these icons over here, and they all have little letters on them except for the cloud. And that is your OneDrive. Okay. So I'm going to click on that. And what you have available to you as a student with this free account is 8 gigabytes of storage area. And that's a lot. Okay. It might not sound like very much, but that translates, say you were doing only Word documents on here. That's about 65,000 pages of documents if you were using just Word. Now, of course, if you're saving PowerPoint or if you're saving images, those files take up different amounts of storage space. So even though it takes more storage space than a Word document, it's still a lot of space to store things. All right, so say I was given an assignment to do in my class and they wanted me to write a paper. So once I am in OneDrive, and it tells you right here in your title area that you're in OneDrive and that you're on the Community Colleges of Spokane site. Now, you can go out and create your own personal Outlook.com account but you don't, I forget what the storage, I don't know what the storage is that you have available to you, but you certainly can't download for free. You can have an email account and you can get some storage, but you don't get to download the applications or anything like that, okay? So if I were going to create a Word document and I am in my OneDrive, I can just click on New and say I want a Word document. I can say I want an Excel document, okay? So the cloud is one place where you can store your work. Now I'm going to veer off here for just a second. I'm going to open my File Explorer, and again, we're on Microsoft products, so I am using a Windows operating system. Sade was just talking about how she got a new Mac, and so she's using a different operating system. But on a Windows 10 operating system, we have File Explorer. And you might not think of it this way, but File Explorer is really another app within Windows 10 that allows you to manage your files, okay? And so you can see over here, I'm going to size this a little bit so you can see it better. In this navigation area, you can see that I have OneDrive listed here as well, okay? And we'll come back to that in just a minute. But you can see that I have lots of areas where I can save things. I can put files and folders and applications in all of these areas. I can put them on the desktop. I could save them in my documents. And when I click on this PC, it's going to show you it automatically, Windows automatically creates some categories of folders for you. And so most often, if you were saving files, you would put them in your documents folder, okay? And so something to keep in mind when you're working with your files, there are always two questions you're going to ask, whether it's a picture or a document or a spreadsheet or a video file, whatever it is, where am I going to save it and what am I going to name it? And so that's sometimes where people get into trouble is they don't ask that question. And when they hit save, it goes wherever the computer decided it wanted it to be, all right? So it will go to a default area and usually it will decide, it will look at the type of document it is and it'll say, oh, that's a Word file, I'm going to put that in documents. Or it'll say, oh, that's a video file, I'm going to put that here. It will look at the extension and see where it thinks you should put it. But it might be that you are working on something for school and you want to put pictures in your documents and you want to put a video in your documents. So you're going to have to consciously navigate to there. You may want to put all of those things together on your OneDrive. So you have to consciously navigate there, okay? And then you decide what you're going to name it. So you can see on here just real quickly that I have the hard drive for my machine. On this particular computer, I have a CD or DVD drive. Not all computers do these days, and not all laptops do. So you may or may not see that. I happen to have a USB drive plugged in. So I have an E drive here. And if I plugged in another USB drive, I would go F and then I would go G, and it would keep however many ports I had available to me on my device to plug in, it would keep going to the next letter, okay? So again, if I had multiple things plugged in, I would have to consciously navigate to where I wanted to save it. Something that people sometimes don't realize is that just like you can rename a file, I can right click on this drive and rename it. So I could call this one Donna, whoops, if I knew how to type, I should take one of my classes. I could call this Donna School, so that if I had, maybe I'm limited in the number of characters. So I'm going to not leave a space there. And if I had multiple USB drives that I was using, I would know right away, this is for school, this one's for work, this one's for the PTA group, whatever. So if you had individual USBs, then you could treat those just like folders that you would have within, say, your documents, okay? Think about, I don't know what the experience is of people here, but when you're thinking about storing things, think about your house. Maybe you have a file cabinet in a spare bedroom or an office where you store things. Maybe you have a drawer in your kitchen where you store things that you brought home from the doctor and you put your, information in the drawer for a while. You've decided, where am I going to save this? I'm going to stick it in the drawer. Where am I going to save this? I'm going to go to the file cabinet in my office. Maybe you have a notebook where you have sections in it for things for your kids' schoolwork. I'm going to go to my notebook and I'm going to put this in here. And I'm deciding that I'm going to put this under Sarah's tab and not John's tab. Okay, so you are consciously deciding where you're going to put things, even when they are in paper version, and you need to think that same way when you're storing your files electronically. Okay.
Donna, can I just say real quick? I just appreciate your emphasis on organization because, like, I have all these things, but certain things are saved on my Google Drive and then other saved on my OneDrive and then some stuff on my computer. And having transitioned from like working at work to home, like that has made like the organization seem so simple. But if you're not conscious of it, I've experienced that being a mess, and I'm sure lots of people have. So just
Well, yeah, and the point of that also is that, does that mean I can never take those things out of my kitchen drawer and go to my file cabinet and reorganize them at some point? No, I can do that. Does it mean when that school year has ended from my notebook, I can't take each of those sections for the child out and put them in the file cabinet if I want to? I can do that, or I can decide I might want to delete them and throw them away. Okay. So the same thing happens with your files. You might start digital files. You might start out with one system or one location and think this is going to work great. And then you decide, you know, I really need to reorganize this stuff and transition to a new system. And so that's the beauty of these things that you can drag and drop in between. As Sade said, she was using Google Docs. Yes, I can put Google Docs on my OneDrive. And yes, I can put my Word documents in my G Drive or my Google Drive. Okay, they can go back and forth. So when you are now that we know that there are lots of places to save things and you need to consciously decide where you're going to put it, OneDrive is one of those places. All right. And something else while I'm here, that speaking of the computer defaulting, when you download things, most computers are set to automatically download to the downloads folder. Okay, so unless you tell it to go somewhere else, it's going to go to the downloads folder. Excuse me, I was getting a little froggy. All right, so if you have downloaded something and you're like, where did that go? I can't find it. You go to your downloads folder and it will be there. Okay. And when you go to your downloads folder, if you are in, I'm just going to quickly say this, if you are in the view that is details, where you can see the details of your files and folders, and you do that by going to view and details, you can click on, usually they're organized alphabetically, but you can click on date modified and it will put the last thing that you worked on at the top. So if you're saying, oh, I just worked on that yesterday, then sort by date modified. Don't be looking and trying to remember what you named it if you aren't sure. Just click on the date modified and they'll be at the very top. Okay. All right. The other thing you can do is you can say, if you say, I don't know when I worked on it, I don't know what I named it, but you know that it was an Excel file, you can sort your files by type. And then you can go look for the, I have a lot of Adobes in here, don't I? Then you can go down and look at your group of Excel files to see if it jumps out to you there. Okay. And if you're still not finding it, if you remember something about it, you can come over here to this search and say it had something to do with, you know, bagels. And you could type that in there and then it would look for that file. Okay. So those are ways that you can find files, whether it's in your documents, your downloads. You can do this in all of these areas, not just downloads. You can do it in documents. You can do it on your USB drive. So it doesn't matter. It works the same in Windows 10. Okay. All right. So now back to OneDrive. So say I created a new Word document and I started typing and I As soon as I finish typing, you can see that this says it's saved. Watch this saved item up here as I'm typing. It saves automatically. It says saving until it catches up with where you left off, and then it's automatically saved. So you don't have to worry about saving per se when you're working in an online document because it will save automatically for you, okay? You can see that the naming is a little bit different because here I can see this is just document 2. And up here on my tab, I can see it's document 2. So when you're working in online apps, it creates a new tab for you. And then this tab is my OneDrive. And this tab is where I first logged into 365, okay? And so if I wanted to rename this, I could just click on this document name and say that this is for my English 101, 101 project 2, okay? And that will then automatically change it on the tab and it changes it here. Now, if I'm done with this document, I don't need save, I just close it. And then you can see that down here in my documents, I have my English 101 Project 1, and that it was saved a few seconds ago. I haven't shared it with anybody. But one of the great things about working online is that you can share it with people. You can see some of these items are shared. And we're not going to get into this today, but if you wanted to know more about that, you could go use one of those resources to look up about how to share with people. So if you were collaborating with another student on this project, you could share it with them and they could open it and type their part or make edits to what you typed, okay? So that's for another day. All right, so that's if I create an item directly from OneDrive, all right? Let's say I am not in OneDrive, but I have opened a Word document on my on my desktop from a desktop app. So I have been working along in a Word document. And this is a second document, and it's going to be great too. Okay, so now this one says document 1, and if I want to save this, I have a couple of things I can do. I can go over to here, and when I say save, it knows that I haven't saved it before, so it defaults to save as, okay? You can see that it is giving me some choices to go to my OneDrive, okay? Or I could go to my personal OneDrive, or I could browse to wherever I want to go. I could look on this PC. And so that's where I am consciously thinking, where am I going to save this? And if I decided I wanted to save it to OneDrive, I would just click on that. And then I would enter the name here. And I'm going to call this English 101 Project 2.
And Donna, can I ask, so the OneDrive option will appear as a save as option once you've installed Office, right?
So here's what we're going to just double check. All right, so I'm going to close this document now. And when I come here, if I do a refresh, you will see that I have my English 101 Project 2 here. Now, to make sure that you can easily navigate, so when I went to my File Explorer and I saw my OneDrive listed here, if you want to easily navigate between these two places, you need to sync your machine, the machine you're using with your OneDrive account. Okay, so if you click on this sync and it says this site is trying to open Microsoft OneDrive, and then I'm going to say I want to allow the community colleges of Spokane to open links of this type. So I'm going to click that and say open. All right, so now this window will pop up and it says you're getting ready to sync. We are connecting to OneDrive on your device. If there's no response, you may need to get the latest version of OneDrive. Well, of all the nerve. I am already synced here, which is why it says Community Colleges of Spokane next to my File Explorer. You will have windows that you have to go through to sync this up. Let me see if I open a different browser, if it will recognize.
And then I don't know if these are just my questions, but if other students have questions, please feel free to ask.
Yes, please do.
We're running near that end of time where if you have questions, let us know. So I just want to make sure my understanding of this is correct as well.
Okay.
So when you hit that install button and download the Office products onto your computer, you have installed Office. However, you do have access to the online version at the same time. Yes. A lot of the times I like to open and edit on my device as opposed to the online version. Right. So if I'm going to do that, I need to either go and save to that OneDrive to make sure that it's automatically syncing, or I need to make sure that this sync feature is set up so it automatically saves.
Well, you don't have to set up this sync. If you didn't, but when you want to get it onto your OneDrive, you are then going to have to go to the online version and say upload file and go get the file that you want to upload. Okay. So if you don't sync it so that you can easily use this here, then you will have to go into the online version and upload the file or upload the folder that you want to upload. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so it is, I'm sorry I can't go through the sync process, but just know that it is going to take you through step by step. And at one point, it's going to want to verify that you are who you say. And so you use the same login that we talked about, first name, last initial, last four of your CTC link ID at bigfoot.spokane.edu and your whole CTC link ID. You also, it's going to ask you to verify using one of these methods, and it'll say, do you want us to send you a text? Do you want to send an email to an account? Do you want us to call you? I mean, do you want to answer some security questions? And you have to choose just one of those methods to continue through the process of syncing. Okay?
Gotcha.
So again, you don't have to sync, but it makes it a lot easier, because if I closed out of my OneDrive and I closed out of all of my online things that I'm doing, if I go directly to File Explorer and I clicked on my OneDrive, it's going to give me a list of the things that I have in my OneDrive. Okay. So I could just work right here and just put things in here, and I don't have to be in the online version at all because it's synced. So that is the beauty of syncing it. I really just wanted to show one more thing that I think is important as far as submitting work from your OneDrive to Canvas.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. And if I had, say I was in a Canvas assignment, this is one of the assignments that I have for my students, and I had to submit something. So I had clicked on the submit button that's at the top. And when this opens, you will notice that I can upload a file. I can go from my Dropbox. But if I have something saved in my OneDrive account that I want to submit, I need to click on the Office 365. And if I'm not logged in, I need to log into my account where well, that stinks. You probably won't get that failure button, but I haven't been in my office for some time, so I probably need to update my OneDrive connection. But this is where you would go to upload something that you have saved in your OneDrive, okay? Otherwise, to submit it through Canvas, you would have to save it from your OneDrive onto your device to be able to go to file upload. Okay.
I didn't know you could do that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so that people have started using 365 or OneDrive, but then don't know how to submit the work. So that's what you would do. You would have to log in.
Oh, and the one thing that we probably should have added earlier, you have access to all these materials as long as you are a student, staff, or faculty member at SFCC for free. If you are no longer a student, you will no longer have access to the software. As Donna mentioned before, is a subscription we pay as a school. So if you're about to graduate and there are things that you have saved in your Office 365 that you're going to want to access later, you're going to want to save that on a thumb drive or another storage like Google of some kind. So all of this is free as long as you're a student. But once you graduate, you will no longer have access to the information. So that's just a really important thing to keep on your radar.
Yes, because you will, if you have the things stored on the OneDrive that you want access to, you will have to transfer it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Please visit the guide if you have any more follow-up questions. Also, there's that help slide at the end of our presentation. So, contact us. It's kind of a quick and dirty version of everything, but we are always here to help. So thank you so much for attending, and I hope you guys have a lovely Tuesday.